Hey everybody, Michael here from Get Fit Over 40. We are 5 days out from the Vancouver Open, and I'm very happy with the way everything's gone this contest prep. It's actually been surprisingly, I'm not going to say easy, but less difficult than I expected compared to the last few years. Those preps were really hard. I would compare this to some of my earlier preps going back like 10 years even. I was younger then. Things just kind of flowed a little bit easier. The whole dieting thing, just the results I was getting with the amount of effort I was putting in was just so much better back then. This last few years has been very difficult, not knowing about the heart situation. That just compounded everything. It just made everything so much more difficult, and my body was just basically, it just wouldn't do it. I would push it to a certain level and it would just say, no, thank you. We're not doing this anymore. It would push back, I'd get all watery. It was just tough. It was so tough. I'm super tired, obviously. A lot of things weren't working for me, but it's a whole different situation this time around. And I'm putting all the effort in. Now, those shows the last few years, if anything, I was putting more work into them because I had to work harder. I had to push harder. I had to really push myself just because it was just so difficult. Not that it isn't difficult this time. There's still a lot of work. I still have to push myself. I still have to stay on top of things, and I pretty much stayed the course. I don't think there's really anything I would look back on and say I should have done this, should have done that. I've done everything that I planned to do for this prep. We are again 5 days out. Yesterday, Sunday, I did a carb load, a sort of carb refeed. I had a higher calorie day. It was about 3,200 calories, which is about what I burned in terms of activity. Just did a lot of walking. I didn't do a workout yesterday. I just did a lot of activity, a lot of walking, put a lot of steps in, and I burned about the same amount of calories as I ate. So I was neutral that day in terms of a calorie deficit, neutral, no deficit, no calorie, surplus. And that's good because that way it wouldn't affect any of the deficits I put in going through this whole prep. And then so that's always a concern when you get into the end. You're like, oh, I don't want to be in a calorie surplus and put fat on. It doesn't always work that way, but in your head, that's what you're thinking. And so we did I did about 500 grams of carbs and, a little lower protein, obviously lower fats, just really focused on carbs yesterday. Went to Tim Hortons, they're not the clean, they were pretty clean carbs for the most part, but on the actual day when I carb up for the show, it's going to be cleaner. This one was just sort of I want to get carbs in and have a few foods that I haven't had in a while. So I did have some Tim Hortons stuff like a hash brown. I might do a hash brown later on for the actual carb refeed or carb load for the show, but I won't have something like a fritter and I won't have pizza like I did yesterday. I just wanted to get the carbs in it. I wasn't really concerned so much with if I had stomach issues because the show isn't happening today. So I did have some, I wouldn't say stomach issues, but definitely I could tell I had a little too much gluten. I get a little gassy when I have the gluten, but that's all fine today. It was just sort of throughout the day, end of the day situation. If I had done that prior to the show, I'd be fine today. Everything's fine. But I'm going to be a little more careful with the carb choices when I actually do my carb load. Basically, I'm going to start loading up Thursday afternoon, Friday, and leading into the show. Because what I found is with the 500 grams of carbs that I did yesterday, I really didn't notice it much. I haven't seen the results of it too much. Maybe I'm up a couple pounds. And typically when you carb load and you pull that water into your muscles, and that's what you're supposed to do, that's what the carbs pull the glycogens in the water into your muscles. Any water that you have in your skin should go into the muscles and dry you out. The skin dries out, the muscles fill in, they get more water in them and glycogens. That's what's supposed to happen. I'll gain at least 5 to 6 pounds if I do it right, sometimes even more. I only gained 2 pounds on the scale. So I know that the effects of those carbs, they either weren't enough or they haven't kicked in. And it's only been, it hasn't even been a full 24 hours since I started the carbs. So some of the carbs I started in the morning, 24 hours now, it's afternoon, early afternoon. Maybe by this evening, I'll see a little bit better what those carbs did. So that gives me an idea of the timing I need to look at for my carb loading. If it's like delayed, if it's taking more like 48 hours to see those carbs show up in my muscles and as glycogen and water, then I'm going to be able to adjust for that when I do the carb up for the show. But as it stands, from what I can tell, I'm going to have to go a little harder. I'm probably going to do about 400 grams or 300 to 400 grams of carbs on the Thursday and about 400 to 500 grams of carbs on the Friday. So more calories, more food. But what I've learned over the years is the food that it's just like the carbs take a good 24 to 48 hours to show up in your as glycogen and in your muscles. Same with fat. So if I have let's say I had 6,000 calories of food, which was a surplus of calories, I'm not going to see that show up as fat on my body for at least 24 to 48 hours. So you've got a window there where you can literally almost eat anything as long as it doesn't upset your stomach and bloat you. And you won't see that as residual fat on your body for, several days. Okay. So if you are contest prepping and you're worried about, oh, I'm not in a calorie surplus in my last couple of days and I'm eating all these calories, don't worry about it. That's going to happen. That's whatever you do, whatever damage you do in terms of calorie surplus and fat going on your body, you won't see it till after the show. So a little bit of peace of mind there. I used to be so worried about that, and I'd be doing all sorts of cardio, trying to offset my carbs that I was loading in for the carb refeed. But essentially, you're just turning those carbs into energy that you're using, and they're not being stored on your body. So you kind of don't want to be doing a lot of activity on your last couple of days when you're carb loading. You want to keep your activity low because you want that food energy to go straight into your body, into your muscles. So it's a real crazy thing. There's a lot of mind games going on, but you got to just stay the course and stay the plan and just do what your game plan is. If you're working with a coach, trust your coach. If you're doing it on your own, educate yourself as much as possible. Watch videos like this. Watch all kinds of videos on contest prepping and peak weeks and carb loading, all those things. There's a ton of information out there. Find good guys that you trust. There's a lot of bro science out there that isn't, with water loading and then water cutting and sodium loading and, should you use diuretics and should you totally dehydrate yourself? Most people are going to agree, don't mess around too much with water. Don't mess around too much with sodium. Don't mess around with diuretics. If you're too fat going into the show, there's really not much you're going to be able to do. You could dry out and dehydrate. That's probably the only thing you can do, but you're not going to come in peak condition. You're not going to look your best if you don't have the fat off, if you don't get lean enough. If you're lean enough, you definitely want to have enough water. You want to have enough carbs. You don't want to dehydrate yourself or you're not going to fill those muscles in. You don't want to do any diuretics really at all unless something went wrong at the last second and you got a little spillover. Then maybe if something went a little wrong and you don't have a lot of time to get that water out. But normally if you're monitoring everything just right, you should be fine. So this week, essentially, I'm just, for the next 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be calorie deficit. And then Thursday, Friday, I'll be loading in the food. There'll be high calorie days. It's just the way it is. There's nothing, no way I can avoid that, but lots of carbs. I'm going to be doing workouts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Maybe a little bit of a pump on Friday. But mostly what I'm going to be doing in terms of workouts is just going through the motions, getting a pump, just making sure that my muscles get some stimulation. Avoid any type of atrophy or muscle loss. Just keep them kind of where they are at right now. Not really much is going to change in terms of, trying to dry out, trying to get hard for the show. Basically, it's mostly a food game. In terms of supplements, there's things you can do that can help you going into a show. If you are using any type of gear, you just definitely want to avoid, testosterone and stuff at near the end, about 2 weeks out. You want to cut that back, and that would be the time. The couple weeks going into the show is when you would replace that with things like Winstrol, Anavar, that kind of stuff. That's a hardener. It doesn't aromatize. It doesn't turn into estrogens, which can cause water retention, and that can help you. It's not so much to put muscle on. It's just to keep the muscle you have, because your testosterone may be dropping down if you were using testosterone. And drop because I'm on TRT, so my testosterone basically I stopped about 10 days out just to make sure it's not so much to get rid of it, but just so that it's not plateauing at all for the show. And so that's kind of the game plan. I'm not, for me, it's mostly about the diet, the training. I'm not trying to do any crazy shit. to, you know, try and manipulate my body in ways that are going to hurt it. I'm being very, very conservative with what, you know, what I'm doing in terms of supplements. Very conservative, and, you know, far less than I've ever done. And I'm happy. I'm not going to be the biggest guy out there for sure. I don't have the size I've had in the past. That's okay. I think I'm going to bring, you know, the best conditioning, or at least at par with some of the best conditioning I've had for some of the earlier shows, or some of my better shows that I felt my conditioning was really good. So I'm hoping to bring that level of conditioning this time around. And I really think I can, unless something goes horribly wrong near the end. I think I'm really right on track for that. So yeah, we're doing good. Again, the show's Saturday. You know, there's going to be a bunch of stuff going on Friday. Friday's going to be a busy day with tanning, with, you know, shaving, tanning, athletes meetings, all that kind of stuff, getting last minute things done. You know, making sure all my food's ready to go for the show, that I've got all the stuff prepped and ready if I need to prep any food, all that kind of stuff. Going to be fun. But this is the part that I really enjoy. It goes by really fast just because, you know, there's so much going on. You know, I've had some comments for people asking me to get some more workout videos in, and I'm going to definitely try because, hey, I don't look like this that often. So, you know, those workout videos, they're pretty, you know, they're awesome because you just look so dialed in. It's a good time to get video of your training, right? You can repost those and everything, right? Moving forward. So, yeah, so we're doing okay, right? I think we're doing all right. You tell me. I think we're there. I think we're on track. I think this is going to be a fun show. It's going to be what it's going to be. I'm happy with everything that I've done, so no regrets. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, take care. And the lights go out.